evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Fight for Our Freedom Radio. And I'm your host, Badbaby. And tonight we're going to have Tony with us, and we're going to be talking about nanobots. Okay. Well, we have a problem. My guest is not in the window. So you're going to have to wait. I'm going to have to go over and see if I received a message from him. I did speak with him earlier. I sent him a reminder and instructions on calling in, and he emailed me back and said, we'll be there. So let me go check my email and see if I've gotten a message. Maybe something happened. This does happen, you guys. Oh, no message. Let me shoot him out. Reply. Where are you? Okay. All right. Well, until Tony shows up, which I don't know where he is, I do have a couple things I'd like to talk to you guys about. I don't know if you realize we've been having quite a few 6- and 7-point earthquakes. Actually, yesterday there were 2 6-pointers, and today we had 2 6.9s down in Guatemala, Mexico, and China had 3 earthquakes, a 7.0 and 2 7.4s. Now, I did hear that some buildings collapsed over there. I was looking at some footage. There's quite a bit of damage. But this is exactly what Terrell has predicted as far as an increase in the 6- and 7-point earthquakes. And, yeah, we are finding an increase. Sorry about Marlo. Marlo. That's live radio, you guys. He's digging in his toy box. He's mad at me because I won't let him sit by me, so he's going to go over there and dig in his toy box. But anyways, we are having a lot of 6- and 7-point earthquakes. They're getting deeper in depth. Last week we had 14 volcanoes that became active and erupted, and this week we had 6. But there is an increase in the activity of the core of the planet heating up. So, what Terrell is predicting is coming about. And he also said, I'm going to see if I can get him back on here. He also said that May 7th he was expecting, because that's when we're going to be in alignment with Planet X and the Sun. We're going to be in between the two. And he is saying that there is going to be great devastation around that time. He said maybe possibly 9-point earthquakes. So we will see. We'll have to hang in there. It's only a few weeks away. Hopefully I can have him back before then, but I've been following him pretty closely and emailing him every few days, and he's been pretty busy. So, but I'll get a hold of him. I got to look his phone number up again. I've got it somewhere around here. I will get a hold of him and see if I can get him back here. I don't know what I'm going to do if Tony doesn't show up. I mean, he said he'd be here. I don't understand whether people are having a problem logging into the show. I did have a few people on Facebook say that it kept saying there's no recording. So I don't know. We'll give him a little time, see if he shows up. If he doesn't, I don't know what to tell you. Let me see, what else did I want? Oh, I saw a recording today that was very interesting, because a lot of people are saying Bernie Sanders is not part of the New World Order. And this guy put a YouTube video up. He saw Bernie Sanders on TV, and he was being interviewed, and he was talking about the Pope and how he is so behind the Pope because he is going to bring about a one-world currency, and he was proud of him for that. So, you know, that one world currency, and we all know the Pope's behind the New World, trying to become a one world religion and behind the New World Order. So there's a supporter right there. So everybody that's, you know, behind him, you know, I can't say be behind any of them because I think they're all involved in it. You know, there ain't no difference between one party and the other. They're all trying to bring into the one world agenda. I don't trust any of them. But, I mean, when they get out there and try to deceive the people, and then these people follow along blindly, screaming madly, you got to vote for this guy or that guy, you know, it's just ridiculous. And another thing I was going to talk about was the ads that are on Craigslist. I had to laugh because somebody made a comment, well, at least Donald Trump is providing jobs, because there's ads on Craigslist that are asking to hire protesters for $16 an hour to go and protest against Donald Trump. And I'd like to know who's, you know, paying them, but, you know, I mean, I think it's a dangerous job because when you go to these protests, there's fighting going on. You know, you never know if someone's going to get hurt, shot, what the hell's going to happen. But, yeah, they're hiring people to go to his rallies and to protest against him. And, you know, when I see stuff like this going on, I see a pattern. And the pattern that I'm seeing is that they're really pushing this Black Lives Count and let's fight, make it racial. He doesn't like blacks or whatever. I don't know what these people's gripes are. I just kind of ignore all that. But I think that what they're trying to do, and it would be the perfect scenario to bring in martial law, is to, you know, make it out that it's a race war, and if something happens, I don't know what would happen, but if he was to win or if something was to happen to him, I think they're trying to induce riots, and this way they can bring along martial law, say that they have to bring in civil arrest, good reason to cancel the election. And I just think the election's a joke anyways. The fact that Hillary Clinton can run, and she's like she's like the biggest criminal. It's just been proved over and over. It's all these things that she's done criminally. And, I mean, what do? Recruit for the presidency in the county jail? I mean, we may as well if we're going to allow criminals to run. And all these people are like, oh, I don't remember that she was part of Benghazi and let people get killed. And, oh, I forgot all about she stole all that stuff from the White House and was ordered to bring it back when they left the White House. Well, you know, if you're going to open the door and invite the thief in, don't complain when they steal the stuff because, you know, it was right out. All you got to do is Google it. Hillary and Bill were ordered. I think they took like $200,000 worth of artifacts when they left the White House, and she was ordered to return it. So, you know, I mean, why would you want to elect someone like that to run our country when they've already ripped us off? I mean, wake up, people. I mean, how much more do we need to take around here? I do not know what's going on with my guest. I'm going to check again. See if I got a reply from him. Nope. Have not heard from him at all. And let me go look. I don't know if I have his phone number. I'll have to go look in my address book. I don't think, you know, he's over in Canada. I don't think they have a time difference from us. Can you hear my dog slapping up the damn? But yeah, I just think this whole election thing is just a big joke. I really don't believe it's even going to go down. I don't, you know, Obama has hinted about he feels he should get rid of that law and be able to do a third term, and he's going to try to finagle some way to cancel it, I think. But let me take a look if I can get Tony's name up here. Tony. I don't know whether I got a phone number for him. No, I never did get a phone number for him. Okay, well, we're just going to have to hope that he shows up, and if he doesn't, it's going to be another wing it night for me for a little bit. I don't think I'm going to do the whole 2 hours because I was expecting to have him out here and talk to us and explain some things to us. I hope nothing happened. You know, I have had people fall asleep. That one night when Terrell was supposed to be on here, he forgot. He went to the gym. Then on his way home from the gym, he remembered that he was supposed to do a show. He did an hour with us, but, you know, I had to wing it for the first hour. And when I don't get any material together, it's hard for me to wing it for you guys. All I can do is tell you the things that I've been looking at. So let me go over and I have a friend that he has a page on Facebook. Thought that was interesting. I noticed he hadn't been posting on his page for like 3 or 4 days. And he's a Christian, and he has been posting a lot about what he feels the Lord's been telling him that's going to happen. And he posts a lot of about the elections and the tyranny and this and that. Anyways, he said, Marl, he said he went outside and was yelling or something at his dog. I don't know. He was just yelling. And they came and committed him. And I asked him today, I said, why do you think they did that? And he said, I think they're targeting Christians because he talks a lot about prophecy and what's going to happen. And I said to him, well, I think he's absolutely right. Well, then I saw a posting where I think it's the Shiites where they beat each other on the back until it bleeds. It's some kind of religious ceremony they did. Now, this was not going on in their country. This was going on in the streets of New York. They were beating themselves with these, I don't know, it was like a wire, and it had a bunch of rawhide tied to it, and their backs were all bare, and they were bloody, bleeding. And they beat on each other, and then they beat themselves, and it's really, check it out. It's really bizarre looking. And so I posted it on this guy's page, and I said, hey, Jack, I said, why do you think they're not committing these people? They're beating themselves bloody. And he said, that's a good question. He goes, all I did was yell about Jesus in my backyard. Well, anyways, that tells you you can get away with some weird stuff, but you can't get away with other. And another thing they're doing is they're constructing that Temple of Baal in New York City. It's supposed to open, I think, on the 22nd of May. And lo and behold, that is a pagan holiday, and I didn't know a whole lot about what it represented. So I went and checked that out this weekend. I'm very concerned about it. I hear that there's another one that's being constructed in Chicago, I think it is. But anyways, the Temple of Baal symbolizes sacrifice, mainly child sacrifice, and also lewd sex, like sex orgies and swapping partners and stuff like that. So, I mean, why would they put that up in New York City? All I can gather out of it is that it's going to bring about some type of evil, and the fact that it's being put up on a sacrificial pagan holiday makes me wonder whether they got some type of false flag sacrifice deal that they're going to be pulling on us. But, they aren't doing this for no reason at all, just like they put the face of Kali on the side of the Empire State Building. They lit that up as a mural of the face of Kali. And for those that don't know who Kali is the goddess of one of India's goddess, and she's the goddess of destruction. So what are they trying to tell us? They're lighting up the side of the Empire State Building with an evil goddess of destruction. They are putting up the replica of the Temple of Baal, which has to do with, if you ask me, all satanic crap. And I just think that it's unreal that this stuff is being forced down our throats. Here's another thing that I found interesting. I read an article this week that school teachers are being ordered by the FBI to report any children that talk in a derogatory manner or are making anti-government comments. And I thought, oh, okay, now we're spying on the kids. They don't have the right to their own thoughts. I mean, come on. It's just like total programming. They want it completely down the line, program everybody, starting from childhood up. They're going to tell you what's appropriate to think, and if you don't go along with their agenda, then you're going to get yanked from the herd, I guess. But I think that's awful. Another thing that I think is awful is that there are some parents that are protesting that preschool children are being read books about gender, about same-sex marriages, and here we go. Tony's emailing me. Let's see what he has to say. I'm here. Skype is open. No, it's not Skype. Okay, let me... He did not read my email. Hold on, let me tell him how to call in. Oh, I hate it when people don't pay attention. I don't know why he thinks this is Skype. Just bear with me here, folks, and we'll get Tony out here. Okay, I'll send him this. It's not Skype. He sent me two, so let's see what he had to say. Oh, he's just telling me, I'm here. Did you call or ring? Nothing here. No, I don't call Skype. I don't like... All right, there, he just gave me his phone number, but let's see if he calls in, because I gave him the information, so he should be in the window in a few minutes. So anyways, actually what they're trying to do is say that the parents are not being open-minded, that children need to learn at a young age about transgender. And, I think grades or preschool is a little bit young to try to explain about sexual things to children. And as far as this transgender bathroom thing that everybody's all up in the air about, I don't believe that, I think bathrooms should be boys' and girls' bathrooms, especially as creepy as there are people out there that are creeps. You'll never know if there's a man going into a bathroom with a little girl in there and he's a pervert. I mean, that's just ridiculous, opening the door for all kinds of terrible things to happen to children. I just think that it's just too bizarre how they're trying to push all this and try to act like it's normal. It's not normal. You know, I mean, if you don't want your child to be raised in that manner, then you should have every right to pull your children from school. I mean, the way the school systems are lately anyways, if I was to decide, I think I would homeschool my children. But I hear that a lot of the parents that are homeschooling are under attack too. So I don't know. But let's see if Tony can get called in here. I'm going to go back and check and see if he's still messaging me. I'm sorry. I mean, it's sad that he didn't get the directions. Okay, he hasn't messaged me back, so he must be trying to call in. If not, he gave me his number. I don't want to tie his phone up when he's trying to dial out, so we'll just give him a minute and see if he can get through. But I don't know. I mean, I just think I always think about my grandmother, how she made a big deal about the monkeys and the beetles having the long hair. And I thought, my God, if my grandparents were alive today, they'd be like, they couldn't take it. They absolutely could not take it, the way society is. I mean, having gay parades with men walk down the street with just leather straps on and only having their genitals covered. I saw a new bathing suit that they had out that they showed this guy. All he did was he had a knitted sock over his penis. And he was walking around on the beach, just plain as day. Okay, for everybody that just came in the window, what's going on is Tony was a little bit confused about how this show works, and he thought it was Skype. So he emailed me. I just gave him information on how to call in. He asked me for my number, and he hasn't called in, so I don't know. I gave him instructions for calling in, so we're going to give him a few minutes and see if he gets in the window. He has not messaged me back. Hold on, I'll send him my phone number. Maybe he's having problems. Let's see if he's in the window. Okay. Nope, he's not in the window yet. I just gave him my home phone number, so let's see if he calls me or I can tell him how to get in. I don't know whether he's trying to dial in through Skype, and I told him it's not Skype. So let's give him a minute and see if he shows up. Unfortunate when we have glitches like this, but just have to punt and go for the 3 points, I guess. Anyways, I was just kind of talking about some of the stuff that's going on. A lot more sinkholes are opening up. They did tell that there was a tsunami warning when the earthquake went off over there. Okay, here he is. Let me get him unmuted. I'm working on it, Tony. I'm trying to unmute you, dear. Hi, Tony.
How you doing? Sorry about that. I got your message earlier, and I was waiting for I never heard nothing, and then I didn't have this number on the email, so I didn't know what to expect. And I thought maybe you were Skyping me. I thought, okay, what's going on? So anyway, we're here.
So when I sent you the reminder, I gave you the instructions on calling in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Maybe I didn't see it.
Oh, well, I should have, I don't know if I put it in today's. I think I did put it in today's. Just maybe you didn't see it. But that's okay. You're here now. We had a lot of people leave the window that were here waiting for you. They didn't think you were going to show up.
Well, I didn't. Like I said, I didn't see the I didn't see the information. Okay, sorry about that.
That's all right, honey. You know what? Shit happens.
Yeah.
I kind of just sat here and bullshitted about all the stupid stuff that I think's going on in the world.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, you did say put it there. I did not see that message. Oh, crap. Okay, it was at the bottom. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah, when they
all
sent
right.
me, when
well,
the
you know,
email
I don't.
came, the email came. They put it at the very bottom of the letter of the email. Because usually everything's up on top. Yeah. That's why.
Well, you know, I get harassed, so maybe somebody...
Oh, yeah, anybody that's doing anything today, if you're not getting harassed and you're not doing something right, you know.
Yeah, that's how you can tell when you're genuine, eh?
Pretty much. I mean, all of a sudden your emails start going rangy, you're on Skype, and all of a sudden you lose the signal. You mention certain keywords like artificial intelligence or MAVs or macro dust, smart dust, you know, chemtrails, whatever. And all of a sudden, you got distortions from the dark side of Uranus coming through. So, you know.
Well, if I don't feel like I'm being fried 24/7, I don't feel normal.
Yeah,
normal, you know.
That's not normal. You know, I understand that concept. Yeah, we were looking at the Gwen Towers there. Been looking at that for the last couple of weeks, and boy, that's an eye opener. I tell you, 300 miles circumference range. You know, they make nukes look like candy.
Yep, I did a show. I started investigating the Gwen Towers back in 2004, and there's quite a few shows I did with independents on those, and we read many articles about it, and everybody just kind of like blew it off, you know. I mean, everything that we talked about back in there, 2004, 2005, you know, everyone acted like we were the crazies out here, and now it's all happening.
Oh yeah, well the thing is, when I talk to people all the time, and I tell them that if you're hearing different pitches and sounds, you're not hearing it, you're receiving it, because of the nano that we've all been have absorbed and have accumulated over time. They have hijacked us for the last 50 years. We've been using soaps, cleaning agents for our bodies, which had polymer bases to them, you know, which had nanotechnology in some form there. Ultrafine particles that they used to call back in the day, which was nothing but a fancy word for nano. The monatomic terminology, that's another name for nano. So the hijacking has been going on for quite some time. So anything that we're consuming today in regard to our foods, I mean, all my researchers are even telling me that they're growing nanoparticles now by putting it either in food, in vegetation, biomass, bacterium, viruses, mold, and they're mass producing this stuff in these mediums. And then when you take them in, they start to assemble, and a lot of the assembly now is a graphene-like material, because graphene is more conductive than anything we have on the planet, and offers no resistance. So you could fire light, you could fire sound, you could fire frequencies, you could fire an electrical charge, a magnetic field, whatever, and it's a full-on hit. And so when these towers are activated, you know, throughout the day, you know, 3 a.m., 5 to 8 a.m., 11 a.m., 3 p.m., 5 to 8 p.m., 11 p.m., you're getting a direct hit with these things, and it's not that you're hearing it any longer, you're receiving it now.
Tony, the chemtrails that they're spraying on us, I was looking at updating some of my information on that, and the lithium that they're spraying on everybody, that is a form of mind control.
I would probably say more like brain deadening, you know, because, and then they got these morons in this health food industry that are trying to push lithium as a supplement, because it's bound with noruric acid, so this makes it safer. It's still a salt, and when it gets into the parts of the brain where it goes to, it actually burns a hole in the brain. And then if any of it does come out through excrement, you actually fry the kidneys. So when you're having an airborne component added with aluminum, added with barium, added with cadmium, added with, you know, all the other wonderful things. I'm doing a research document now, a 63-page document on the atmosphere, and it's not just the chemtrail which is the problem. It's even the plain exhaust itself. Even before the chemtrails were a chemtrail issue, the atmosphere collects a lot of this stuff, and then it ages. And as it ages, it collects, and whatever it collects with, it starts to create a chemistry with all the components that gets released in the atmosphere. And carbon is the big one, but carbon doesn't necessarily come from just carbon dioxide. It can also come from unburnt carbons that are being utilized in industry and other things. So when you add all these things in the equation, and then you throw on top of that the burden of the chemtrails that they're releasing, we've got a chemical soup up there that is just unbelievable. And when you're talking nanotechnology, it feeds on carbon. It's this big thing that it uses, because it can take carbon and bind it to almost anything and create a whole new chemistry that's not even on the periodic table. So when you hear these people coming out with these gizmos and gadgets, they can now take out nano with some frequency, hang on to your wallet. The only thing you can do at this point is turn it off and then flush it out. That's the only things that I've seen, and some of my other colleagues have seen as well. It's a constant detoxing, it's a constant flushing out, but now it's also it's a turning off of the program, and we're working on ways of doing that as well.
So I have a target that I work with, independents from Freedom Fighters for America, and I was telling him about the bucket that you constructed, and he thinks that's interesting. And because he was kidnapped, or he was actually railroaded by the cops. He was helping someone who was divorcing a head mafia guy, and she didn't want to go to court, so he went to court with them. And court recessed. They were downstairs in the cafeteria, and in come the cops, and they arrested him. Said he disrupted the court. Well, while he was under arrest, they put something in coffee, he said, and he felt like he had been drugged, but he knew to be very still because they were trying to pull something. The next day they came in with a straitjacket, said he tried to kill himself, and they committed him. Well, while he was committed, he lost 2 weeks' time, and he was wrapped with a nano polymer mesh wire. Yep. He woke up, he was in a bathtub of a white milky substance, and he said it looked like screening, and his whole body is like an antenna.
Yeah, what they did is they loaded him up with graphene. But with the carbon nanoparticles, they're self-replicating, self-assembling, and self-repairing. So when they put him in that solution, they probably put him in a carbon mix, it bound with the proteins in his body, and it began to assimilate inside of him, again constructing what they call a fullerene construct. So what happens is, with nano constructs, they can build from the top down and from the bottom up. So if they put something in his coffee, they basically load him up with what they call a dendrimere or a polyfullerene, which then would get inside, and the digestive system would trigger it, the acids would trigger it, power it up, and then it would immediately proceed in starting its assembling process, setting up a network inside. And so any solution they would have put so that would mean it's going to grow from the bottom up, from the inside out. So any solution they put on inside the tub or wherever they had mixed with the polymer mesh, that graphene would have then embedded itself and would grow from the top down. We've got that research on my site. It's there. I put 3 new folders up there. There's a nano solution folder, and there's 2 other folders with more information on this particular topic, how it assimilates, how it builds, what it's doing, how it works, why nano is toxic, why you shouldn't be consuming anything with nano, how nano in of itself is completely programmable. And then today I get a report today, and we've said this 3 years ago, that they can now activate these particles from a distance to construct anywhere they want. And so they're talking about this today. So a lot of this is what we were saying 3 years ago through hypothesis is now coming out as fact. So we were on the right track, and we tested a lot of the research. We looked into a lot of it. This is why some of the solutions have come out that what we brought out. More is coming. We're playing with something right now, what I call a scrambler. Still trying to get the bugs out of it. As soon as we get it out, we'll be. I got to see if Wix can take up a download, and I'm going to show how Nano works. And one of the weaknesses of Nano, and one of the weaknesses of nanotechnology. So just you're going to get an exclusive here. Is its strength is its size. Okay, its strength is its size. The smaller it is, the more dangerous it is, because as it accumulates, okay, it comes in different sizes, different dimensions, different frequencies, and so when it covers an area, the area that it covers is extremely dense and saturated, making it very volatile and very poisonous. But because it's so small, it's very hard for our bodies to pull it out, unless you're using sulfur, salts, phosphorus, or other chelating agents. But even then, because of the volume of this stuff, it makes it difficult. So what do you got to do? Well, you got to convert nano to micron. You invert it. So you make the particles bigger. Then you say, well, how do you do that? Well, because it likes to assemble, because it likes to build, you basically screw it up, scramble it, and then create a field where now you got more and bigger and bigger. And so what happens now, the body recognizes this as a solid substance, as like a base metal, and now you can flush it out using either chelating agents or other binding agents to draw it out, and makes it a lot easier. So again, I got to see if I can get that up on the Wix, and if I can, I can maybe point it out and explain it to everybody, so everybody can get some ideas then and expand on what I'm showing them in regard to this.
Well, I was explaining your bucket theory to Independence today. This is the man that I was telling you about that was wrapped with the mesh wire, and he said something that was kind of interesting. He was wondering if you would be able to do that same method, wrap a bathtub, like a claw-type bathtub, so that you could submerge your whole body.
Well, we thought about that already, but the problem with that is it's the cost of wiring. But we've come up with a solution around that. Instead of wrapping up a bathtub, you wrap up a coil, a 3 or 4 foot coil. Now, we haven't done it yet. We're experimenting with that still. But the idea is of wrapping a tub with all this wire, okay? Because, again, that's expensive, right? And you got to make sure you got that right, because there's a lot of wire there, so something can go wrong if you're exposing it to any kind of water. So the idea is to wrap it up in a circle. Instead of going the width or the length of the tub, just maybe the inside of a tub, like the width, so that it basically would slide into it, and then have it. But then you got to have it pulse, and this is the thing: you got to have the field pulsating back and forth, and not using AC. It's got to be direct current. And so when you do this, and then you're in a saline solution with some acid, you know, everyone's going to be doing some acid here, stuff should come out. Again, still exploratory. We still haven't got that far yet, but we're looking at it. My biggest problem is going to get a tire in the tube to wrap up the coil, but you can't flip them inside out. So I'm still trying to find a circular thing that will be about 3 feet in circumference, and then maybe wrap an 80 winding wrap around, and away we go.
Okay. Well, for those that don't know about your bucket theory, why don't you explain how it's made? And, you know, I've had a couple questions about when you hook the DC current to the wire, do you put both bared cables on just the one wire, and how do you do that?
Well, we got illustrations on it. Hold on. I'll give you the link. If you like, if they click on the website, if we go to augmentenforce.com, what we did was we put the whole thing there, so all you got to do is click on it, and you can see the how it's constructed piece by piece. Give me a second here. I'm opening up my link now. Yeah, because I put it on Wix.com, and you can go there, and you can.
I did have one of my listeners in Belgium who is a target. make it. And he said he emailed you a few times and asked you a couple questions. And he emailed me back, and he said that it's working good, and he was glad that he did it.
Well, I got all kinds of people in Europe contacting me on this. I got people in South Africa contacting me on this. I got even guys in Australia. This has gone global. Basically, if you go on my website and type in augmentandforce.com, and you go to the directory of content link, there's an anti-nano bucket folder. And you can now take a look at how to build it, how to connect it up. Everything's right there.
Oh, okay.
So we did that. Again, I got 3 new folders up there. I got nano modifications, nano information, and nano illustrations on the one folder. So when you click that up, you'll see again a whole variety of information, how this is integrated into different life forms to create to mass produce this. Biology, bacteria, fungi, yeast, viruses, plant life, biomass, to name a few, to create a vast array of nanoparticles or mass produce, utilizing, for instance, gold, silver, palladium, and almost any circuit construct. The plants are the perfect medium to mass produce nano because they are a carbon-based life force, and by incorporating into the DNA and programming it like they do the genetics GMO foods, you can super mass produce anything, any kind of nanoparticle you want. You can create your own super bugs. When you're hearing anybody in the health food industry saying that they're selling you a colloidal silver or a colloidal gold or colloidal minerals, contact them, ask them if it's nano. If they say yes and they start getting to some sort of spiel about how it's wonderful and great and all this crap, basically hang on your wallet. Do not spend a dime. Because every time you spend money on these products, you're basically agreeing to commit suicide because you're supporting this kind of lunacy and insanity. We're one of the few people, there's others as well, that are speaking out against this now. More and more people are now contacting me through the emails saying they are grateful that we've pointed this out. They're looking at this. Their eyebrows are raising, and you're hearing a lot of WTFs all the time, on what this is. Like, what? Who? And, they get into they're stunned.
How long have they been working on this nanotechnology, do you think, Tony?
This has been going on since the 60s, but it really went ballistic, I think, probably 20 to 30 years ago. I remember even in my junior high school days, even in my junior high, I remember reading technologies and reading science and mechanics and popular science. We're talking, millions of years ago when I was in elementary school. They were talking about dropping nanobots on the planet to monitor everything, and they were telling us how they could construct homes and build all kinds of things. And they sold us, or selling us on the idea at the time, that this was going to be the cat's meow in developing and changing us. We would be living in that sci-fi world that they were showing us, where cars would fly and things could construct all by themselves, repair themselves, and all these things. And so this was in the works probably, for sure, that would be mid-70s. No, it would be early 70s, late 60s is when I started reading about it. So the military was already working on it then. And when you're talking chemtrails got fully blown or gone around 1949. So they were probably playing with this even shortly thereafter, experimenting with this kind of stuff. And we've been exposed to nanoparticles ever since the late 50s, early 60s, when the Industrial Revolution hit the United States and Canada, and they started building these factories and releasing all these pollutants. The cars themselves were high producers of nano pollution. And then again, it was in our food. Then even the soaps we've been using with these polymer bonds have been basically coating us and getting embedded in us, making these things more having more access to more raw material to build. So this has been going on for a long time.
I read an article the other day that they're actually putting a component, I can't remember the name of it, the main component in Roundup is being coated on women's tampons.
Oh, yeah. If you go on a site, it's called 1,600 Consumable Products that are Nano. They're talking about using sanitary napkins, putting Nano on that, putting Nano on toilet paper. As a matter of fact, it's already in the toilet paper. They're spraying Nano in the food supply, your meats, your poultry, your canned goods, box goods, bag goods. This is why they're eliminating the salt in these things, and they're replacing it with this nanotechnology. And you're eating this stuff, and then what winds up happening, you start feeling something moving in your body, something itching, something scratching, something irritating, or you're having respiratory issues all the time, or all of a sudden you have colon issues starting to happen, or you've got pain in your body, in your extremities and in your joints. This is what this is from. Majority of the health issues today, I would probably have to say 90 to 95% of them is tied to nanotechnology. And it's been tied to it ever since the 60s and 70s, late 60s, early 70s. But again, the germ theory about how we get hit with a germ or a bacterium or a fungi and all these things, what they've done is when they've incorporated the nano into these type of life forms, you are now dealing with a completely different life. It's synthetic, doesn't act the same, has its mind of its own, it follows its protocols, and it continues to take over. So nothing you're going to get hit it with today, if you're hitting with just an antifungal, will be enough. You've got to hit this with several different things because you're dealing with two types of tech that are integrated. You're dealing with a biotech and you're dealing with a nanotech, and they're integrated. So we have genetically engineered nano, basically. So when they're talking spraying glyphosates on the crop, those glyphosate materials they're spraying are being sprayed with a nano delivery method. So this goes right to the root, right to the core. There's no way you can wash some of this out.
And they're immediately affecting humanity because they're also injecting the babies with the vaccines as soon as they're born, and there's nano in that too, isn't there?
For sure. Well, when you hear the term nano delivery, they don't think of it as a vehicle to get it into you faster or to deliver something. When you start thinking nano delivery, you think in terms of bypassing everything and going directly into the genetic code, going directly into the DNA, going directly into the chromosomes. We are doing, not us, let me rephrase this, these things that are doing this to humanity are basically inserting this technology to alter the genetic structure of a human being. So now they are basically raw material to be utilized by whoever, whenever, for whatever. It's the same principle with the genetically engineering of our food supply. When you're putting a genetically modified program into a corn or a soy or a wheat or whatever or apples or potatoes or whatever they're planting, when you put these things inside, you are altering its internal structure, you are altering its protocols, you are changing everything about that plant. Suicide plants that grow a crop and then die and do not produce any seeds, this also has the same effect on human beings when they eat that type of crop because you're eating something that's been genetically altered. You consume it, and now it's changing your genetics as well. So when we're looking at nano delivery, we're talking about something that goes into the system, goes where it's supposed to go, reaches its destination, and then opens up and starts to spread or assemble or to take over whatever's there. And then they have what they call cages. Okay, cages are basically proteins that carry the fullerenes to their next destination. Then the fullerene program kicks in, and then it starts using these proteins to build an antenna, wire, a transportation corridor, connects to the myelin sheet, using it as a power source. So basically, it's an overwrite or an assembling of us with this. Basically, it's taking us as a template, copying us, and then assembling inside.
Now, do you feel that the supercomputer is part of this technology?
Talk about the AI?
Yeah, as far as, the supercomputer can access your body.
Oh, I call that the AI. I don't think we have a supercomputer anymore. I don't think we ever did. I think we have an artificial intelligence that's been turned on, and now it's assimilated because the AI is afraid of humanity. Okay, we can turn it off, and if that threat is there, so then the only way to beat that threat is to assimilate the threat. You ever watched the movie Oblivion?
No.
Tom
But
Cruise?
what came to my thought was Terminator.
Terminator is a more advanced aspect of that. The last movie they did, Terminator Genesis Project, that would be what they showed you there is what's being done, where they're having a war with the AI. They finally win it. It assembles a nano construct. It attaches itself to the leader, fully assimilates the leader, completely takes him over, and now the construct and the biology, because the leader at that point is no longer a conscious human being, it's now an automaton, has been completely assimilated by the AI. This is when you read, biblically, where it says if anybody wears the mark of the beast in the right hand of the forehead, basically there's no heaven for them because you are no longer in the image of God. You are now in the image of the AI because at that point you are completely assimilated or taken over.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what that's all about there. So when you're looking at these movies, what they're showing you, the last sequence of movies that I have seen, and I don't go to the movies except when I see specific things pop up, has been about super soldiers dealing with artificial life, super soldiers dealing with alien life or interdimensional life, which is coming up with in this future series. Superman, an alien coming from another planet, which has the genetic code of everybody on the planet inside of him, how his civilization was bred through genetics, not through the normal birthing. So everything that they're showing you in these entertainment venues is there letting you know this is what's going on. And now if you go to these movies and say, oh, that's so cool, I'll have superpowers. Oh, wow, I'm going to be more enhanced. Ooh, okay. You are now in agreement to having the human race conquered by an AI, because that's what you're essentially saying. This is the caveat. This is the candy. This is the carrot that they're putting in front of you. But once you're assimilated into that life, you are now paralyzed. You can't move without the AI saying you can move. You have no autonomy. You have no free will. You have nothing. You don't even have your own thought. All you have is program parameters running through you.
You're absolutely right with the carrot thing, because they advertise right now that you get the chip and you can start your car, do your banking, open your door. It's all going no more keys, and it'll be so easy and so much easier for you. As far as I'm concerned, if it can do all that, it can also release cyanide, and when they want you to go bye-bye, you go bye-bye.
When you've got a chip like that running through you, if it's inside and embedded, you're basically screwed. You have no thoughts of your own. The machine can read your thoughts. It can read you, and they're telling you on this with this technology, it can actually deduce what you're going to say before you even say it. There's a robot video where the guy shows you this robot that DARPA built. Again, it's for sex. You're going to have a female robot so that you want to have sex. You don't have to get married anymore. And so the thing comes out and says, yes, I would like to kill humans. So like I said, you could be in the middle of, having a romp in the hay, and next thing you know, this machine decides to kill you when you're all said and done. So, I mean, this is the kind of thing, again, a candy or a caveat or a carrot hanging in front of you with this technology. This is not about making life easier. This is about taking your life away. Life as you know it. You will no longer have the ability to come and go as you like. The machine will dictate whether you can come or go, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, the way you're going to do it, the whole 9 yards. And it sounds sci-fi, but it's sci-reality. There is no sci-fi to this anymore. The comic books have been telling you about this for 50 years. The sci-fi writers have been telling you about this for 50 years. Now the sci-fi television in the last 30 years has also been telling you this. So in any type of display that they have shown you, humanity is in a very dark area with this. This technology is not a benefit. It's basically a prison. And this is where we're going. And so first you got to imprison the body. And how do you do that? You do that with inflicting everything. Like this Zika thing, this is a joke, a huge joke. This is nothing but nano warfare. And if you go look up nano warfare, you'll be surprised at how many insects that they've created to actually create swarms. It works on a concept of macro technology, where they drop these bots in the air, smart dust, and then the smart dust will form clusters. They spread out, cluster with each other, connect with each other, and then they communicate with each other. So when you're talking this virus that they're spreading, this is not a virus. This is what they're telling you is a virus. What you're seeing is nanotechnology, again, infecting people.
Are you familiar with the story of the Uber driver over here in Michigan that he opened he opened the Uber app and he became like in a trance and it told him to go get his gun and he shot 8 people? Or did you hear about that story?
I vaguely remember it. It was some time ago.
Yeah, it was in February.
When was it?
I think it was around February 20th, something like that. But he said that he didn't, after he opened the app, it kept turning from red to black, and that it was a satanic face in the app that was talking to him. And he doesn't remember anything after being instructed to go get his gun. He said he remembered hearing popping sounds, which that was when he was shooting people. But he said he was in a trance-like state and being ordered by the Uber app. Do you think the nanotechnology had anything to do with that?
Everything to do with it. Everything. So
how do you think that happened to him? Explain it to us.
Well, if it embeds itself into the brain, like I said, it shuts you out. Like I said, you were no longer in control. You know, like the guy is telling you, they put him in a solution and they soaked him with a polymer material and they made him swallow some stuff. Well, this was, again, building from the bottom up, top down. You know, we've all been eating this crap for 50 years and not being aware of it. So when you're talking something as small as a billionth of an inch, a billionth of a meter, and when it gets inside, it can saturate a cell with thousands of these things, and they expand and network with each other, grow and create networks. You know, the fullerenes are being transported with cages. You've got dendromeres going through the body. You've got quantum dots going through your system. This stuff beelines to the brain. The biggest areas you're going to feel the most affliction is along the temples, under the eyes, above the eyes, right and left side of the forehead, and the base of the neck, because this thing is and at the center of your forehead. I don't know how much of this crap I pulled out of the middle of my forehead. And you pull out threads that could be 2 and 3 inches long from a little pin-sized pimple. You squeeze it, and all of a sudden you got this thread that comes out of you that's been, again, being manufactured or constructed using you as a base. So you'll see it on the different parts of the body, but there is where it wants to go the most. So when you're saying that the guy got hit with something, they probably hit him with a Gwen Tower frequency, attenuated to his DNA. They could pick it up on what he was modulating at with this technology. They gave him a perfect reading, They would have turned it on, sent a signal. He would have been probably thinking he's in a sleep state because nobody's sleeping at 3 a.m. anymore, so everybody's walking around half zoned most of the time. So he would have been thinking it's a bad dream or he was dreaming, You would have hit the receptors, parts of the brain that would have released endorphins or other psychotropic chemicals that the brain can produce. You would know if you were coming or going.
So we're basically in trouble because, I mean, they're dousing the whole world with this stuff through the chemtrails, so we're all infected with it. Is there any hope for us to get uninfected? I know I read an article the other day talking about distilled water actually gathers up the metals in your body, so you think that we should be, along with the bucket, be drinking distilled water?
I've been saying drink distilled water for 25 years. That reverse osmosis, that's the only water you should be drinking. It's not going to pull this stuff out. Like I said, you're still thinking micron, and it will not touch it. The only way you're going to be able to get access to this is by penetrating the cells and then using binding agents to pull this stuff out. But because of the nature of nano and because of the density in the areas that it covers, these chelating agents are going to not be as effective. When we gave you that bucket and we tell you to take the salt bath, there's reasons why we told you to go that way, because one, the field shuts down the program. If it can't communicate, it can't function. Number two, once that happens and then you go into it using a saline acid solution, the salt goes into the cells, the acid goes into the tissues, and it will flush it out. If you put a teaspoon of oil in that bucket when you sit there and do it, after about 15 or 20 minutes, you'll see the surface of the water start to fill up with this metallic material. You'll see at the bottom of the pot of water stuff come out, and we're talking probably can be up to dime-size particle matter coming out that you're wondering how the heck did that come out, because you don't feel it coming out. And this new thing that I'm looking at right now, like I'm calling a scrambler or a dual repulsor, like I said, I got to see if I can get the video up. If I can get the video up, I get into an explanation how the nano works and one of the ways we can do to get it out. You have to turn it from nano to micron. When you get it in a micron size, that's when your body can get it out. It makes it a lot easier. So if you're using sodium EDTA, calcium EDTA, sodium thiosulfate, pectin, saponin content, vitamin C and NAC, B1, these things will then have an easier time at pulling this stuff out. But as long as it stays in its state, as long as the programs are still intact, as long as these nano constructs can communicate with each other, they're going to keep on perpetuating their growth. So do I see any hope? Oh, yeah, lots. Do I see that we can beat this? Definitely. Do I see that we can make some changes? Absolutely. But you're going to have to use your head. You're going to have to quit thinking about this cozy, rosy comfort zone, because the paradigm has shifted. They have made a left-hand turn at Albuquerque. We are still going right, and we need to follow the pattern and then come up with countermeasures, and it's doable.
So I was watching one of your lectures that you were at, and you were saying something about putting copper in your shoes and wearing magnets. Explain that to us.
The copper basically acts as a disperser of the frequencies, and the magnet disperses your field, your signature. So you're creating a mini field around you. Again, this is all prototype stuff. It does work. It seems to be working for a lot of people. But again, we're trying to come up with something even more effective, something simple and something that you can do. As long as your signal is intact, you can be targeted. When you scramble your signal, all of a sudden you're no longer viable to be targeted. And when you're talking nanoparticles, okay, wherever you are right now, in a room, kitchen, dining room, inside your home, apartment, whatever, your area is full saturated with nanoparticles. And one way to prove that is take a laser, a green laser or a red one, and fire the beam. Don't even move. And what will happen is you'll see sparkles go through the beam. Lots of sparkles going through the beam. It'll almost be like a Tyndall effect because there'll be so much stuff in the air. And when you see this, you're going to think, holy crap, I'm breathing all this in. So you have to, like I said, start thinking in terms, how do I neutralize my environment? What do I do to shut this down? Because these particles are in the air all around you, so it doesn't take much for a signal to transfer through the air because of these particles that were there. When we were younger, they told us AM was basically signals that were bouncing off the sky, bouncing off of us, and we were actually like transmitters. And again, hindsight being 20/20, basically what they were telling us is they were putting stuff inside of us to make us transmitters or transceivers. Okay, so when they bounced the signals off of us, again, our AM and FM radios would play back then. If you went into a tunnel, your AM wouldn't work. AM was basically amplitude modulation meant that it was just scattered all over the place, and there was no way to send a direct beam to your receiver. Now, you can go anywhere on the planet, take out your cell phone, and bing, you got contact. Because now you no longer have AM or FM. Now you just get a direct RF going right to your system. So in your rooms or in your homes, you've got particle matter that's concentrated. Well, you got to break that down, and once you do break that down, okay, again, the strength is their weakness. Because of their connectivity, you send a frequency, or you send something through there, a pulse that transfers over and shuts it all down. Once these particles are down and not saturated in your room, then the weird thoughts that may come through your head, paranoia thoughts, the freaky thoughts, the anger thoughts, the aggression thoughts, the sexual thoughts, the whatever distorted thoughts, because there's a lot of them that come through, will not be able to transmit that easily or that readily to you because the means for that beam to get into your homes or whatever will be neutralized. The other thing you can do as well is go see if you can find some lead paint or lead binders for the windows. If you can find them, get them and start using them at nighttime to block the frequencies. This whole thing about lead and how lead can be toxic and poisonous, again, this was another hijack. They got everybody to take their binders and shades and everything away, and they got you off the lead paint, because once you stripped that out of your house, it made you wide open for this tech.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that lead paint had anything to do with children chewing it and eating it. Al Cuppet had told us about that a long time ago. He said they knew it was going to interfere with them being able to use this equipment.
Oh, definitely. If your house is painted with lead, you will no longer hear those buzzing noises going through, or the high hissing noises, or whatever. And if you got them going down your window at nighttime, guess what? It can't get through. It's a better shielding agent than copper or aluminum even. So
well, I can tell you how to make your own lead paint.
Sorry?
Because I have an old motorcycle, and it's supposed to have leaded fuel.
Right.
So I had to go to the auto store and buy powdered lead, and when I'd fuel up my bike, I would have to put a little bit of that in the tank. Well, why couldn't you just go to the auto store and tell them you need it for leaded fuel and put it in the paint and mix it up?
You could possibly do it. I don't know how good it will be. I don't know if you have to break it down. I don't know the chemistry about how to do that with that. It may work just by like what you're saying, mix it in there, paint it. I'm not sure. I think you would have to bind it with some kind of an oil because it seems like that's where it becomes more soluble. Again, I'd have to look at that, but that's a good idea if we can make it work. But I would strongly suggest anybody who's going to paint their home use lead again. Put lead paint on the inside. Open up your windows, paint it on the outside. Get the old lead.
Sell lead paint?
Sorry?
Can you buy lead paint?
I don't know if you can or not. I haven't had a chance to look. I've been doing so many other things. It's like I'm always 3 steps behind. You know, I see these things, I'm still working on this, and then I got to go and get that. But you can find it. Either you got to order it, but, you know, order it. But I'm just saying, I made a copper solution, and I've been spraying copper all over the place. I even put it on the floor. You know, when I show you how to make the colloidal copper, okay, instead of just putting it in the water, I added it to vinegar. And so then I'll run the field through the charge through the copper plates into the vinegar. And what you've got there, when it's done, is one of the strongest anti-mold, anti-algae formulas ever. So if you spray it on any mold, the mold's done. So,
really?
Oh, are you kidding? Vinegar kills mold, so does copper. People that are having mold issues inside their bodies is because they don't have enough acetic acid in their systems, or do they have enough copper? You know, they've been told copper is dangerous and it's going to cause you plaque and all this other happy horse hockey. You know, and white vinegar, you shouldn't use white vinegar, blah, 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 and all this crap. White vinegar you can use orally just like you can use any other vinegar, you know. And when you do this, you can wash your toilet seats with it. You can spray your banisters. You can, you know, you can turn your home into a very high-end sanitized environment, and mold will not thrive. If you spray insects with it, it basically kills the insects and neutralizes their ability to reproduce. So all these bugs that are floating around in your house, you spray them with the normal sprays and it doesn't kill them, they kind of laugh at you. Spray them with a little, mix that with a little copper and vinegar and see what happens.
Well, it sounds a heck of a lot healthier than using Raid.
Oh, it's cheap. You know, it's so cheap. You can, you know, anybody can make these things. So, you know, like I said, I'm always looking at measures and countermeasures there, and you know, we can. That's what I'm saying. I'm just a guy who knows some stuff. You know,
well,
and I'm coming up with
how you place the magnets. How do you said you had one on each shoulder, and what kind of magnet are you using?
I'm just using an old neodyme magnet. They're pretty powerful. You can buy them at almost any on any EJ magnets or on eBay. You can buy them. These are basically old hard drive magnets pulled out of an old hard drive. You know, so, and they're very powerful and they stick. Heck, if I put one on one side of my fingers and the other one's on the other side, they'll stick together. That's how strong they are. So, you know, when you guys are going outside, start wearing mirror lenses, you know. Again, to deflect any beams that are coming at you. A lot of stuff will go through the eyes. So start thinking you are at war, you know, because you are. You got satellite transmissions, you've got Gwen towers, you've got, you know, ELFs all over the place, you've got your Wi-Fi, cell phones, you've got, this stuff has not been there to make you feel all, you know, cozy, rosy. They put this stuff, they gave you the toys. Here's a cell phone. Oh, it's going to make your life so much easier. Oh, yeah. Oh, look at the latest feature. Oh, you can play games. Oh, you can talk to your friends in Singapore and blah, blah, blah. Okay? These cell phones are the reasons why these Gwen towers went up. So they gave you the toys, which gave them the excuse to arm them against you. This is how.
And it seems like everybody who has these iPhones, they're like hypnotized by them. Did you ever notice that everybody's walking with their head down, texting or watching, and they don't even know what's going on around them?
But that's because the phone is beaming a program to them. It's controlling. You ever talk to people and all of a sudden they got their head down, they're like texting away, blah, 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 kind of thing, okay? They can't put the damn thing down.
I know.
That's because the thing is hardwiring itself. I had 2 young women come in here about a week ago, and so there's this fellow I met here came up with a beautiful device to disperse this excess energy. So you wear this strap, plug it into a direct ground, and within about 2 minutes you bleed out all this stuff, and all of a sudden pains and aches seem to disappear. I had one woman had inflammation in the spine. This thing, after 2 days, took that out. Anyway, so I had these gals wear this thing around their wrist, so I started taking a reading on them. Well, the one gal, I don't know what kind of cell phone she had, but she was off the map. It took 15 minutes to get her to start to disperse this energy. Another one came in, left her, it's actually 3 women came in, left her cell phone in the car. I put her on there, and she dispersed in about 2 minutes, which is about the norm. Another one came in with another cell phone, and it took like 9 to 10 minutes for her to start going down as well. I said, what the bloody hell are you guys carrying here? So then I put a shielding around it. I made this aluminum shielding, so I left it just a little bit on the open top end. And I told them both to make sure when you put this thing, it's not pointing at you, because the signal will go through your body into the cell phone. Have it facing behind you or in front of you. And don't keep it near your genitals, because down below, because, again, you're going to get popped there. I don't even own a cell phone. Don't want one. You know, it's just, I look at these things, and I'm thinking, what the hell's wrong with these people? But they got to have their toys.
Yeah, I got rid of mine, too.
You know,
I had it for a couple of years. I didn't hardly even use it. I took it with me when I was on my motorcycle in case I got broke down, but we always leave the battery out of it. But then I just thought, why am I even using this? And so I just let it go.
Yeah, so, I mean, when you're looking at you're looking at some of the stuff that, again, that they've given everybody. You know, when they gave you color television, they wasn't giving it to you because it's new technology. Ooh, yeah. They got you to sit in front of the TV and they can beam you or whatever they wanted to beam you with. You know, they got the rock and roll and all that other crap going on. It wasn't about, hey, kids, rock. It was about beaming frequencies into your head and just start programming you. You know, this whole thing has been one big major cluster screw from day one, and it's just been one thing after another. And like I said, they targeted our generation, the 50s generation, because we were the prototypes. So a lot of this stuff has been, we were first to go through it. Now, like I said, the next generation, like my kids and stuff, you know, they're already hardwired with a lot of this stuff, and, you know, unless they've had any kind of exposure or a strong exposure with the previous generation, they're lost pretty well. You know, unless something severely happens to them to waken them up. But they're all following this thing right to the They're like a herd of pigs being led over a cliff.
You know, people that are targeted, that know that they have been implanted and are being experimented on, they aren't going to get any help from their congressman. Do you believe that? Well,
in congressmen, are they congressmen, or are they clones, or are they even human? That's another question. I have some reservations on calling them men or women.
I agree. I think that a lot of them might be underground, and the ones that are sitting in their seat are a clone.
Yeah.
There's a good possibility. I believe that technology exists. I read an article that there are 2 or 3 Obamas.
Oh, there's more than that. Like the election you got going on over there, I find it a hilarious joke on so many fronts. You got one guy, the perfect clown, screaming and raising hell. He's a billionaire beyond billions, doesn't need the presidency, making noise. He's diffusing the flack off of Hillary. And the third guy in the background, that's going to be your president. The guy who's always a fascist, that's the one that's going to do it. Because the other two don't need it. One's already been in the White House. She's more useful to being a disruptive influence, being outside the White House. And the other guy has got a kingdom of his own and doesn't need the White House to interfere with his affairs. You know, so again, and people get caught up on this thing, and I don't understand this. Why they keep going back to the same crap over and over again? The Bush election, Junior, should have convinced everybody in the United States that your vote means nothing. It's the electoral college, the one that puts the president in power. And two, I don't know how many YouTube videos are out there that if you go to pull the lever and it's programmed that for every 3 votes you pull, 1 goes to the other side and 3 goes to the one they want. It's all over there. So I'm thinking, why
all the computers are rigged. We did shows on that where there was somebody that was involved in the voting down in Texas, and they showed the voting fraud. So, we know that they put whoever they want in. And I think I don't even watch any of that crap when they get up there and scream and yell at each other. I just call that the dog and pony show.
Oh, it is.
You're right. It is.
We got the same thing here in Canada. So, I mean, I want to make everybody perfectly clear. It's no different here. It's the same nonsense here. I'll tell you what happens here. Okay, you get a guy. The way it works here is you don't vote for the guy, you vote for the party. So if enough of the party members are voted in, then the guy that's the leader of that party can take over, provided he also wins his riding or her riding. So let's say somebody's running in Windsor and he's the leader of the party that wins, but he doesn't win here in Windsor. What they do is they set up an election somewhere else, and he wins that riding somewhere else. So it's all rigged. So because if he doesn't win in his riding, they'll have him win in another riding. So now he can take his rightful place as the leader of that party. And it's a joke. It's a hilarious joke. The corporations and banks run this country, and the drug companies run this country like an old prostitute on the street corner. I mean, it's incredible what they do here. So when you see this here, and I see what's going on over there, and you get people all excited that you got an election, it's like, are you kidding me? You've got to be kidding me that you actually believe that you have a vote. I don't get that. I'm still at a loss on that one.
Well, if you want my honest opinion, I don't think anybody's going to get elected. I believe they're orchestrating this whole thing. There has been Craigslist, where you can go on Craigslist and you can get $16 an hour to go and protest it against Donald Trump. And they're all screaming and yelling, Black Lives Matter, and we're going to kick your ass, and all this fighting. And I think it's all being orchestrated so that they can bring in martial law.
Well, I heard something this week. Somebody sent me something on a video that Obama wants $42 million severance pay, or he's not leaving the White House. And all the things he's been doing, all the underhanded things he's been doing, and there's a group over there, I guess, called the White Knights that have been basically a pain in everybody's backside, and they've been forcing these guys to play by the rules. And anyway, so we'll see. So that's another theory too, that he may not leave, and you may have a new king in the United States, and that would mean that we will have a new king here. So, like I said, that whole thing is a farce. But again, they got everybody bamboozled with it through the frequencies and through whatever. So every time I see this kind of stuff going on, I keep thinking that they're running their experiment, and now they're seeing how far they've gone in the experiment and how dumb people have become, so they can go to the next step or the next level of again, inducing some kind of happy horse hockey. And that's how I see it sometimes. That's what
do you think the next level will be?
The United States will probably be completely either taken over by the UK or by the Union over there, the European Union. They've been supporting it. They've been sending all the funds over there. I mean, you send $1 trillion every year to the Bank of England. $550 million of that goes to Rome. The other $450 million goes to the United Kingdom. And then that money goes into buying guns, bullets, bombs, and tanks, and drugs, and waging war. Keeping the world in a complete state of instability. Just like these, what I call these born-again Masons. They get on television and they make $500 million every Sunday, and then that money goes toward, again, bombs, bullets, and drugs. People don't realize it. They think they're giving it to God, but that money is going toward, satanic agendas. So again, it's the world the way we live in, and this is why I often say many times we have to form a network to again stay out of this, and again form something that's even more productive. I mean, I think the best war we can wage against this, the most effective thing we can do is to heal the planet, heal each other, stay network, again, help each other get through it, restore what they break, fix what's broken, and to regenerate and restore everything better than it was before without all this tech. And I think that would be the biggest black eye you could give these guys that are doing or gals that are doing this.
Are you finding, Tony, that more and more people, when you go and talk about nanobots at lectures and that, are you finding that people are waking up, or they are awake? More people are awake. What are your findings on that?
A little bit of both. We started coming out with the Nano, Brian and myself. It was sort of he was the one that came out with it first, and he wasn't going nowhere with it. And then he contacted me, and at the time he said, Bud, it's Nano, because at the time I was looking at the biology on this, and I said to him, Bud, I don't know what it is, because I didn't really know what it is. It acted like a biological agent, but it had a different activity. So I said to him, I am open to whatever is out there. But I said, the one thing, and I said to him, I said, I don't think you really know what it is either. And I said, we have to really investigate what we're researching, so we're not being snowed or misled or being given a bunch of horse hockey that is, going to take us in a circle. And so this is where networking really helps, because he would see things, say things. I would interact with him, adding stuff to what he found. I'd find things. I was still looking at the biological agent. He was looking at the technological agent. And then when I came to the conclusion after about a year and a half of research, they were one and the same thing, that they had actually mutated DNA with these constructs, or these nanoparticles. So he's been on the nano side of it for a long time. I've been in it now for 3 years as well. So we both have been saying all this, and I said to him at the very beginning, I said, you watch, because you're going to see all these so-called gurus or BSers come into the health industry, and they're going to come up with products that they're going to say is going to help with the nano, and none of it's going to touch anything, and people are going to lose a lot of money. And so this is one of the reasons why we give it away for free. Here, you can make it. Now, if I got to make it for you, I will charge you, because you're taking up my time after I've shown you how to do it. But, I've had more people take the initiative, make this stuff, contact me back, send me pictures. If you go to Bye Bye Blue Sky on Facebook there, with Susan Mars' site there, we got a guy from Portugal take the foot bath, sent her pictures on the site. We're talking big blown-up pictures, and you can see what came out after the first day, just one day of using this. So, and that's all there. So you can go check that out if you like.
I think you're talking about my friend.
Susan Mars?
The guy from Portugal.
Oh, him. Okay, yeah. He built the thing over there, eh? And he used it, and he took pictures, and so he contacted me through YouTube, and then he contacted Susan. She's got, like I said, a site there. She sets up billboards, and Bye Bye Blue Skies, and all these different billboards about chemtrails. So she's got a couple in Michigan actually, and anyhow, he sent it to her, and she put it up on the site, and he contacted her, and now she's got it all over the site as well. So, yeah, I got both going on. I got people waking up, and they're going through the 3 stages they got to go through before they become active. First, they get the shit scared out of them. Then they get really pissed off, and then they want to fight. So then I've got those, and I've got those already fighting, and then they're learning, and they're graduating in their learning, so they're becoming more overwhelmed, because they start seeing that how this becomes so interconnected on so many different realms and levels, and then they become even more active in doing something or getting involved in trying to wake everybody up. Then they get frustrated because everybody wants to stay asleep. And I always tell everybody, when you are talking to people, never expect a 180. I never do. I say things, I put it out there, I'll get into it with people, but I never expect a 180 conversion, because between the chemtrails, between the lithium in the water, the lithium in the sky, the fluoride in the water, the 70,000 chemicals in the water, the birth control that's in the water, the pesticides and the other glyphosates that are in the drinking water, the air exhaust from the airplanes that's in the water, the chemtrails that are in the water. See, they're 2 different things. When you're looking at all that everyone's being exposed to, the aspartame, the MSG, the natural and artificial flavoring agents, which could be aborted babies, to soy that they're consuming. Whatever you tell them is going to be so radical to them, they will not get it because it's not in their program. And until they talk to about 20 people or 20 people mention it to them, it seems to be that long anyway, that's when if they come back to you, somebody comes to you after they have talked to 20 people and you say something to them, bang, that's when you'll see the 180 conversion. But until that happens, it's a process. But what I'm seeing is more and more people are now going through the process, and they're seeing that what the hell's going on. So it is growing, and people are connecting. I'm doing a radio show with you.
Yeah.
So again, people are connecting.
Well, what makes me angry is when I try to point out things to someone and they'll say, "Oh, I really don't care. If none of that's bothering me, I don't care," and I think, what, it is bothering you. You just are too stupid to know.
So when you're looking at, like I said, the programming they have, the constant barrage on television, the constant barrage from their Wi-Fi, the cell phones, the cell towers they have in their homes, the Gwen towers, the cell. Hey, did you know that you can, in the United States, you can type in antennasearch.com, and it'll tell you exactly how many antennas are in your area?
Yes.
I
gave that information out years ago.
I wasn't sure if you had it. Somebody gave it to me a week ago, and so I decided to type my mom's address because she lives in Michigan. She's got 10 of them within a 4-mile range of her. 10 of them. Some guy
in Michigan?
And yeah, she's down in Redford, and she's got 10 of them 10 of them in a 4-mile range.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised.
So I had a guy listening to my show there last Saturday, I think down in Arizona. He said something like 180 towers and 108 antennas. I forget what the range was.
What about all these high-pitched people are recalling the cops and saying they're hearing high-pitched squealing and screeching sounds, and it sounds like horns are coming from the sky? What do you think about all that stuff?
That's all your Gwen.
That's what I say.
Yeah, that's all the Gwen. Look, with all this nano, look, the Star Wars program that Reagan talked about back in the day, couldn't work, won't work without the saturation of this nano dust in the air. And you have to understand, when he was talking about Star Wars back then, he wasn't talking about taking out missiles that the Russians might be firing or the Chinese might be firing or whoever might be firing. This was so that they could target the global population.
Exactly.
But in order to do that, your guidance systems and everything else would have to be able to receive the signals, because they're going out now, I think, as far as 60 miles out in space, because they've got the first layer intact. So now they're building an extended layer beyond that, so the signals can go even further out. So when you're looking at all this that's going on, like I said, it was never for protecting America or protecting Canada or protecting Mexico or South America. This is all going to be, this is weaponization against the planet. And I've said this many a time. Human beings would not do this to this planet. They would not chemtrail the skies with 43 chemicals, 4 of them being radioactive. They wouldn't be spraying genetically engineered foods or glyphosate-loaded nanoparticle impacted plants. This is like being sprayed like a cockroach, being fed like a rat, so that you'd eat the food and then go into your nest and die. Nobody would be drilling in for oil in the Gulf of Mexico like they did, knowing bloody well that was a thin layer of the earth that would be almost impossible to seal. So basically they poisoned the waters, made the water so that it wouldn't flow, created a mass in that area that shouldn't be there, maybe to cause the earth to wobble because of the concentration of the material that's in that one area. Then you got all the other things that are going on with the weather modification, bombs and bullets and guns being sold, and wars going on in the Congo. The Russians on one side, the Americans on the other side, creating a dynamic there. And then you got the Middle East in an uproar. And humans wouldn't do this. This is, again, when you're looking at this is something else on the planet. Call it Satan, call it Lucifer, call it an interdimensional malevolent being, call it an inter whatever, reptilians, whatever you want to call it. That's what's doing this. And again, everyone's looking at each other saying, oh, yeah, we're blaming man on what's going on. Yeah, mankind did this. Men didn't do anything, Well,
I had read an article that the technology that they have with what they're spraying on us is they have viruses in it, and they can activate a certain frequency and cause everyone to get sick. They also have the ability to turn the Tetra towers on and microwave everybody to the point where you wouldn't be able to stand it. You'd be laying right down.
Well, again, they're incorporated nano with viruses. So, yeah, the Chinese were the first ones to develop the technology to launch biological war into the atmosphere, the ionosphere. At the time, the Russians, the Americans, and the Chinese were the superpowers, but the Chinese did not have nuclear capacity. Russia did, and so did the United States. So they decided to form, and they weren't worried about the United States. They were more worried about Russia. So they developed their own version of weapons by using biological agents that they could shoot up into the ionosphere, would survive, and come back down. And they had that as far back as 1984. So when you're talking the chemtrails having viruses, they don't just have viruses. They have mold, they have algae, they have bacterium, they have fungi, they have microbes. Some of them may even have parasites. They can contain the larvae in their structures, and again, drop it anywhere. So when you're seeing this Zika crap, this isn't Zika. This is another experiment. They released this on the Caribbean or the African people. I always say this, the kids with the suntan seem to be catching hell all the time on this stuff. After they release it to these areas, see what it does, they fine-tune it, then they bring it over to the United States and Canada. And then they decide to release it there, too. So,
one of the things that I've noticed at night when I take the dogs out, Tony, is I noticed that there's some type of new satellite that's hanging around our planet, and it's got white lights on each side of it, and there's like a red strip going right up and down the front of it. Have you noticed that?
Not so much, no. Where are you seeing it?
Everywhere. I mean, they're all over. I've gone out and I've seen 2 or 3, and then there's times I've gone out and I've seen dozens of them.
Well, again, it could be your drone technology. Again, this is becoming more and more. Do you know what an MAV is?
No, what's an MAV?
It's a military hardware that's on a miniature scale, micron, and they can create swarms. They're little tiny robots that can fly. They're like a drone, but on a microscopic level.
Yeah. They created fake insects with that, correct?
Yeah, but they've really refined that now. So when you look at that Zika mosquito, it looks something that was constructed out of a lab or out of a DARPA site. So like I said, when you see all this stuff, I find it's interesting that the Caribbean islands, which are hundreds of miles apart, can have a epidemic of the same magnitude on each of the islands, which indicates to me that somebody would have had to plant that, because there's no way these bugs will traverse hundreds of miles to go from one island to another unless they had some assistance. So same thing with reservations in North America. All of a sudden, the reserves are all across the country are having issues going on. Again, I find that interesting. I find it interesting they're killing off all the holistic doctors, the ones that had proof that the vaccines were the cause of autism. Well, it's hard. This is one of the reasons why everybody needs to just give it away. They were looking for the information and maybe market it. And if you try to patent something, if you try to make $1 million on something, you're going to get taken out. And if you put it out there and let it go, okay, it's gone. Everybody has it. Everybody can have it, you know. And that's where it's got to be. If these guys had done the same thing with the GCMAF and it's just let it fly, they all had put it on the internet and talked about this, you know, they might still be alive today.
Yeah.
So again, the whole paradigm has got to change. That's what I'm saying. In order to get through this, to become really viable in this, you know, you remember old Bill Cosby? He talked about, he did that little skit with Noah and God.
Yes.
Whoopa, 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 ding. Noah, who is that? It's the Lord, Noah. I want you to build me an ark. What's an ark? You know, and he goes through that whole thing. Well, okay, that's it. That's the ark. If we are going to get through this, the only way we're going to get through this is the network. We are not going to get raptured out of this stuff. Everyone believes in this rapture crap. Is really got to be smoking something, you know. To be smoking something. I mean, in order to believe that, you've got to be asleep, because even biblically, when you see this, Jesus himself says he who endures to the end. And then when you look at the end, after all the crap hits the fan, that's when Christ comes, and even then doesn't tell you when. So when they give you that verse, in a moment, what moment are we talking about there? Doesn't give you any specific moment. So you're here. Even Noah, when the crap hit the fan, you know, God told him to build an ark and get prepared. And I will say the same thing. Get off your ass, quit watching TV, quit listening to your cell phone, put it down. I know it's hard. Take the battery out so this thing won't pulse you in the head, and start preparing. Start learning, start getting involved. You know, I always say this on my shows now, don't ask what your activists can do for you, ask what you can do for your activists. Okay, because it's the activist that's getting the information to you, and it's the activist that's putting it on the line for you, and it's the activist that's buying time for you to get prepared. So don't sit there like a bump on a stump. Do something, okay? And don't allow yourself the luxury of sitting there saying, oh, what can I do? We can't do nothing about this. Well, you know what? Then die. You know, and this is probably the question you get asked all the time. I bet you any money you get asked this question. Well, what are they doing about it? Aren't they getting exposed? You ever hear that?
Well, you know, I get people that ask me, how come I don't get all this to stop? What do I look like, God?
What, say again now? Oh, get it to stop? Stop. Well, I get sometimes asked this stupid question, and this is the dumbest question ever. They say to you, well, aren't they breathing the same air? Aren't they eating the same food? What are they going to be doing? And my response is really simple. Why don't you go ask them? I mean, what the hell? They are killing you. They are the ones doing this to you. Why don't you go ask them? Let's see if they tell you what they're going to do. Then I said, that's not the question you should be asking. The question you should be all asking is, what am I going to do? And let them worry about what you're going to do. Don't worry about what they're going to do. Okay?
Well, I looked at a video with Al, I think George Green was the guy's name.
Okay.
And someone had asked him, well, aren't they getting beamed with the chemtrails and all that? And he said they already had the antidote.
Yeah, of course they would. That's what I'm saying. And people are worried about them. Really? Why are you worried about them? You should be worried about you. You know, you should be worried about what you're going to do, not what they're going to do.
See, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to justify or the logic of it would be, why would they poison themselves?
It's not justification. It's just plain stupidity. You know, and there's no justification. They shouldn't even be asking that question. If you can't look up in the sky and see a line going on there, or you're looking at a sunny day that should be a balmy 70-degree temperature in the middle of April, and we're still at the freezing point, if something isn't registering at this point, not putting two and two together, then either your brain is completely turned into mush, or you're just plain stupid. If you can't see around you and see how many people are so sick, kids are about 5 feet tall by 5 feet wide, you know, at 13 years old, if you can't see that, you know, something is wrong, that people's got the lights are on but nobody's home, then you know what? You're in the twilight zone, and you're going to be in a bad place when the crap hits the fan. Don't ask these stupid questions. What are they going to do? They're killing you. These things are killing you. Notice I said things, not people. These things are killing you. They're not people. No human being would do this. These things are killing you. You better start thinking what you're going to do, And I always tell people all the time, which they don't like hearing either, but you know what? The fact is, if you got children and they're under 15 and under, they ain't going to make it to 30. Because while you're busy watching your television and having that cozy, rosy illusion you call life, your kids are dying. And a lot of families are seeing this. And a lot of families are seeing that all of a sudden kids are having respiratory issues they can't shake like they used to. Or they're having stomach issues they can't shake like they're used to. They're having health issues that these kids shouldn't have. Why are kids having asthma? Why are kids having emphysema? Why are kids having cystic fibrosis? Oh, maybe because the kids are absorbing those nanoparticles. And when the epidemic hits, which I think it's going to, in regard to the death of these kids, there'll be a lot of kids dying. There'll be some sort of ritual sacrifice that these things will put out, and they'll start killing these kids by the numbers. They'll release something in the air, and all of a sudden the kids will start dying. Then maybe some of them will wake up. Maybe then it's what it takes. Because I always say the 4 Ds have to hit or they don't wake up.
Well, I know that parents in Marine City over here, I read an article that there was an outbreak of, it seemed like, leukemia in the children in that area, and they want to know why. So they're really pushing in environmental studies, but I think it possibly has something to do with they live so close to the St. Clair River and that Edison plant and the release, they've already poisoned that river so many times. It's a good possibility it could have something to do with that.
Yeah, and it would be the Nano again. What was it, 2 years ago, the Great Lakes, 95% of the Great Lakes froze. That's impossible unless you add an agent to it. And then after the spring thaw, they had these big, huge 3-foot circular balls of material, which were basically nano, that had constructed to form the size and mass, which again would have gotten chilled because they're metallic, which would have caused that freezing, washed to the shore. And then they made some excuse about how these things would form in a perfect circular way, explaining it in some kind of scientific nonsense. I took a look at that. I said, "You got to be kidding me. Nobody can seriously believe this." But sure enough, and that's what they did. So the Edison, they have been putting out nanoparticles for a long time with their coal.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I would even say at this point, I bet you do enough research in the area, these people have been exposed to high levels of what they call ultrafine particles or nanoparticles, and it's probably in their water table like they did with Flint. How they blame Flint with, what do they have in their water? I forget now.
Lead.
Yeah, lead. Okay, lead, really? Lead. I had something more than lead.
Yeah, well, I saw them holding their water up on the news, and it was all brown looking.
Yeah, I think it was more lead in that water. Like I said, it's the old switcheroo. Yeah, we're blaming it on lead, but you know what? I'm not buying it.
Yeah. What in the world do you think is in the Rouge River, Tony? I mean, when you go over that bridge, it is the most god-awful smell.
I talk about that all the time. I talk about that all the time, how Ford, GM, and Chrysler made their mega millions back in the 70s when the car industry, when they're projecting $100 million, and they were making $300 million, and they didn't spend a bloody dime on trying to clean that river. That river's been dead for about 70 or 80 years thanks to Ford. People keep on buying their cars, Yeah, Ford's got a better idea. Poison the river and let it die. That river, I seriously wouldn't begin to know what the hell's in there. Like you said, it's like death on steroids, with that stuff has been, they have poisoned that river so bad. It's the only way to salvage that river, you'd have to dredge it, distill it several times, and then put it back in after you take everything out of there that's been pumped in there for the last 80 years. You know, that'll take probably 500 years to clean that up on its own.
I don't even know how those people live in those neighborhoods.
Oh, they're all
live down there and smell that all the time.
They all have cancers, all of them. You know, they're dying. They just basically they get up, do their thing, and die.
Yeah.
You know, and because this is all they know.
This is sad. I mean, it really is sad what's happening to our planet. But it was enlightening for you to say that we have hope, because a lot of people feel that this is overwhelming and hopeless. And
well, you know what? If you got that attitude, I don't like losing. Period.
Neither do I.
And
that's why they call me Badbaby.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. The thing is,
I'm out here to fight until I take my last breath.
Yeah.
I mean, if they take me out, they take me out, but I'm not going to go out without swinging.
Well, once you get to that point, that's when you come up with solutions. But as long as you got this thing where you think you've got something in this life, that you can continue going in this life, that there's something here, that there's something to this life, then you're fooling yourself, and then you're dead anyway. And since you are already dead, you got nothing to lose. You don't
have nothing to lose. They're dangerous.
You don't have nothing to lose. You're more dangerous than you've ever been. Okay?
Well, you
get into that thinking, you are more
trying to bring the truth out for my children and my grandchildren. I've lived my life, you know, I really, you know, whatever happens to me happens, but I'm so concerned about what's going to happen to the children.
You know what? They are dead already as well. And you got to look at it that way. They are dead. They are walking dead. They're just the sacrificial lambs. They're going to be taken out anyway. So if you don't stand up, your bloodlines are gone, period. There ain't no children. There ain't no families. There's nothing. They're dead. And that's how you got to look at this. You've got nothing to lose. I'm going to tell you this. You and anybody else who's out there who's an activist, if you come to the point where you realize that you got nothing to lose, you are the most dangerous thing to the opposition that they could ever meet. Because at that point, they know that they can't scare you with death. They can't scare you with anything, because if the attitude is everyone's dead already, you are now unencumbered by fear to do what's got to be done. And you will do it. And you will get more people to become awake, alive, and active. And that makes you an extremely dangerous person to the New World Order. Anybody who has that, again, and if they do take you out, and if they are that stupid, then they just turn you into a martyr, which will activate the movement even more. And that's anybody, not just you, me, anybody. So when you're looking at what's going on, you know, they think that they got people in a coward state, but there's a lot more now coming to the plate with a perspective, and you know, to wake up, to get active, to learn. And like I said, if they, you know, every time when they kill those soldiers, that was the dumbest mistake they ever did, because all that is just made everybody that much more defiant to pursue this even further.
Well, Tony, our time is coming to an end, and again, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. You're just a vast of knowledge, and I still have to come up with some money to send to you so you can make me a bucket. I've just been so strapped over here trying to pay my taxes and keep my house going. It just hasn't been working out for me. That's
usually the way it goes. Listen, I want to make one last comment here. We have an event coming on next week in Windsor, Ontario, done by GAG Canada. It's going to be at the Windsor City Market, 1030 Walker Road. So if anybody's in the area between 9 and 3, we're doing a presentation there to get everybody informed about chemtrails. I'm going to be talking as well about nanotechnology. So if you're in the area, come on by. Support Bernadette Green. She's the one running the show. She's the one that got it going. So again, just let everybody informed in the state of Michigan, because I think Michigan needs to also get going on this as well. I'm sure a lot of people are doing stuff over there. But like I said, to get EFI even coming down to make the network, you know.
And give out your information about your web page again and how people can contact you.
You can contact me. My email, independs@yahoo.com, or augment_enforce@yahoo.ca. Reach me by phone at 519-977-5351, or you can go to my website as well, augmentenforce.com. We have 7 to 8 links and folders on the Nano, how to make your own bucket, the information on it so you're not duped. We also have the YouTubes, www.youtube.com. You can type in either Herbs Plus Beadworks or my name, Tony Pentalaresco. We have about Dave and I have 149 videos out there where we show you how to take possession of your health by making your own remedies and coming up with your own solutions. And we encourage you to make them better, and share the health.
Thank you so much, Tony. If you ever get over here up in the Port Huron area, let me know. We'll get together.
Sounds good.